Do you ever wonder why there's this invisible weight pressing down on your chest every morning? It's not sadness in the way most people understand it. It's not even emptiness. It's something far more complex, a persistent shadow that follows you through every conversation, every decision, every quiet moment when you're alone with your thoughts. You've become an expert at hiding it. Perfected the art of small talk and social smiles while something deeper aches inside you. You tell yourself it's temporary, just a rough patch, a difficult season. But weeks turn into months, months into years, and that familiar heaviness remains your constant companion. What if I told you that this isn't happening to you, it's happening because of you? What if everything you've been experiencing is the result of a war you've been fighting against yourself, and you've become so skilled at self-destruction that you don't even realize you're the one holding the weapons? Here's the uncomfortable truth that most people spend their entire lives avoiding. You are not the victim of your circumstances. You are the architect of your own suffering. And you've built this prison with meticulous precision. Every harsh word you speak to yourself in the mirror, every impossible standard you set and then punish yourself for not meeting, every moment you downplay your achievements or dismiss your worth. These aren't random acts of self-doubt. They're deliberate, systematic patterns of self-sabotage that you've refined over years. Your mind has become a weapons factory, and you're both the manufacturer and the target. You've learned to anticipate pain by inflicting it first. You've convinced yourself that being your own harshest critic is protection, but it's actually slow suicide. Think about it. When did you decide that hurting yourself was safer than risking disappointment from others? When did you conclude that setting impossible expectations was better than facing the possibility of genuine failure? These weren't conscious decisions. They were survival mechanisms that outlived their usefulness and transformed into elaborate forms of self-torture. The most devastating part? You've become incredibly good at it. Your self-destruction isn't chaotic or random. It's strategic, calculated, almost artistic in its cruelty. Carl Jung understood something profound about human nature that most people never grasp. The real battles aren't fought in the world around us, but in the landscapes of our own minds. When your enemy is external, you can run, hide, or fight back. But when the enemy lives inside your head, there's nowhere to escape. This is why you feel trapped, even when your circumstances aren't particularly difficult. This is why you can have everything you thought you wanted and still feel empty. You're carrying the battlefield with you everywhere you go, and every new environment becomes another stage for the same internal conflict. Your mind has created what I call the guardian of pain, a voice that believes its job is to protect you by keeping you small, safe, and scared. It critiques every bold move before you make it. It whispers reasons why you don't deserve good things. It creates elaborate scenarios of failure to keep you from trying. But here's what that voice doesn't understand. The threats it's protecting you from are mostly illusions. The dangers it perceives are shadows cast by old wounds that have long since healed. You're living in a mental bunker, defending against attacks that aren't coming, while the real opportunities of life pass by outside. Before we go deeper into this rabbit hole, I need to know if you're really ready for the truth. If what I'm sharing resonates with something deep inside you, if you recognize yourself in these words, then drop a comment right now saying, "I see my battlefield." Don't explain it. Don't elaborate. Just those 4 words. This isn't just engagement. It's a declaration. It's you acknowledging that you're ready to stop running from the mirror and start facing what you see there. The real transformation begins with that recognition. Now let's discuss the enemy you didn't know you were fighting. Your addiction to familiar pain. Yes, you read that correctly. You've become dependent on your suffering because it gives you something that success and happiness can't provide. Certainty. Pain is predictable. You know its rhythms, its triggers, its patterns. You've mapped every corner of your mental prison, and while it hurts, it's yours. Healing, on the other hand, is terrifying because it's unknown territory. Growth requires you to become someone you've never been, and your mind, wired for survival, prefers known misery over unknown joy. This is why you sabotage yourself right before breakthrough moments. This is why you find problems with every solution. This is why you resist the very changes you claim to want. Your subconscious mind has decided that staying stuck is safer than risking the vulnerability that comes with authentic transformation. You've also become comfortable with the victim role because it absolves you of responsibility. If you're broken, if you're damaged, if you're inherently flawed, then you don't have to take the terrifying step of actually trying to build something beautiful with your life. You can stay in the commentary box, criticizing the game instead of playing it. But comfort is your enemy. Not the comfort of basic needs being met, but the comfort of never having to surprise yourself with what you're capable of. Here's where everything changes, where the old story ends and a new one begins. That persistent ache you carry, that quiet desperation, that feeling of being fundamentally flawed, it's not evidence of your brokenness. It's proof that you haven't given up. It's your soul refusing to accept a life of quiet desperation. What you've been calling depression might actually be your deepest self rebelling against a life that's too small for who you really are. What you've been calling anxiety might be your intuition screaming that you're capable of so much more than you're allowing yourself to become. The war inside you isn't something to end, it's something to understand. Those harsh voices aren't enemies to destroy, but confused guardians to redirect. Your job isn't to achieve perfect inner silence, but to become the conscious conductor of your own mental orchestra. This shift requires something most people aren't willing to do, taking full responsibility for your inner life. Not blame, responsibility. Blame looks backward and says, "This happened to me." Responsibility looks forward and says, "What am I going to do about it?" The moment you stop seeing yourself as the victim of your thoughts and start seeing yourself as their creator, everything changes. You move from being a passenger in your own life to being the driver. Real change doesn't happen through positive thinking or motivation. It happens through understanding the mechanics of your own mind so deeply that you can predict and redirect your patterns before they take control. Start by becoming the observer of your own thoughts. When that voice of self-criticism starts its familiar routine, don't fight it and don't believe it. Just notice it. Say to yourself, "There's that voice again. I see you, I hear what you're trying to do, but I'm not going to let you drive today." Practice what I call conscious self-advocacy. Every time you catch yourself being cruel to yourself, immediately ask, "Would I talk to my best friend this way?" If the answer is no, then you have your standard. Treat yourself with the same kindness you'd show someone you love. Understand that your mind will resist this at first. It's been running the same programs for years, and change feels like death to the ego. But consistency beats intensity. Small, repeated acts of self-compassion will rewire your neural pathways more effectively than dramatic declarations that you abandon after a few days. You've made it this far, which means something inside you is ready for the real work. That voice that brought you to this video, that made you listen to these words, that's your true self calling you home to who you really are. If this message has shown you something about yourself that you've never seen before, if it's illuminated the battlefield you've been carrying inside, then I want you to do two things right now. First, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because what we've explored today is just the beginning. There are deeper layers to uncover, more sophisticated strategies to learn, and a community of people who are committed to winning this inner war alongside you. Second, share this video with someone who needs to hear it. You know who they are, that friend who's too hard on themselves, that family member who never thinks they're good enough, that colleague who apologizes for existing. Sometimes the greatest gift we can give someone is the knowledge that they're not alone in their struggle. Remember, you are not broken. You are not beyond help. You are simply ready to stop being your own enemy and start being your own greatest ally. The war within you doesn't end with surrender, it ends with understanding. And that understanding starts right now, in this moment, with this choice. Your liberation begins today.